Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation with Chelsea Donovan, we're going to talk about a man who died in Raleigh police custody after being hit with a stun gun, what a lot of people call a taser. And I want to be clear that this is being recorded midday on Wednesday, and this is a developing story. So, of course, any developments will be included in the reporting on WRAL.com. Chelsea, welcome to the program. First, can you just set the scene for us? Where did this happen? How did it unfold?
Yes, this was in the early morning hours of Monday morning at the corner of Rock Quarry Road and Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's in the southeast Raleigh section of the city. And what we know is from Raleigh police, from the chief actually, she said that officers around 2 a.m. stopped a suspicious vehicle that was in the area. And come to find out through their investigation, they felt like it was time to apprehend them. We don't know the reasons why they stopped the vehicle, or we don't know what led up to that arrest. But what we do know is that officers tried to arrest him. We understand that he resisted arrest and ran into the woods. And this is all unfolding behind a sweepstakes center called Supreme Sweepstakes. We know he ran into the woods, and there was a search for him for quite some time. And we do know, we don't know when in this process, but a taser was deployed. And we're learning from police that he had the taser, he was tased, and then he was transported by ambulance to a hospital where he later died.
And, you know, the first thing you think about when you hear about somebody dying in police custody is, you know, were there shots fired? But that was not the case here, correct?
There were no shots fired by both the suspect, the individual who was resisting arrest, or the Raleigh police officers that were on scene. And you're right, you know, when you hear about an in-custody death, that's just a kind of a strange way of kind of categorizing things. But it's just either they die in police custody, or while they're being apprehended, or on the way to jail or a nearby hospital is how it's defined.
And also, I noticed in your reporting that this obviously became a medical emergency at some point on the scene, and that officers did perform some life-saving, tactics there on the scene before he was transported.
That's what the chief said, that yes, they did start CPR. We don't know how many times he was tased or anything like that. We know that will probably unfold when police put out their 5-day report, but we do know from what she said that they did try life-saving measures.
And I want to point out that Chelsea is actually on her way. She's still working on this story. She's in the car right now, and she's been very gracious to share her time with us in the car. But if you hear the sound dropping out, that is the reason, because she is actually reporting on this story right now. Now, Chelsea, I know we've been able to identify this man through his family. His mother, Sonia Williams, has been talking to WRAL. Can you tell us what she's saying about him and about the situation?
Yes, she saw the reports that we did last night, and gave me a call and mentioned that was her son, 32-year-old Daryl Williams. He is a Raleigh resident. She doesn't know why he was in the area at the time. She doesn't know the circumstances around his death. A lot of questions that she still has. She says that around 4 a.m. that morning, so it was about 2 hours or so after he was pronounced dead, that officers arrived at her house in Wendell and gave her that tragic news. She said that he was just a friend to so many and loved by so many. And, you know, we're on our way to talk to her now to learn a little bit more about him, to see what she might know about why he was in that area, and hopefully get some questions answered from her perspective, since right now we know that police are keeping things close to the vest as part of their investigation until we learn more in the coming days.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be back after the break with more from Chelsea Donovan on just how dangerous it can be for someone to be shocked with a stun gun. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm talking with Chelsea Donovan about a man who died in police custody this week. Chelsea, obviously a stun gun, something that most of us call a taser, is not considered to be lethal force compared to using a gun. It's a step down in terms of the type of force that's being used by police. But we do know some people have died in custody. I know that we have done stories at WRAL about a death in 2013 in Fayetteville involving a stun gun. I'm sorry, that was 2011. And then in Raleigh in 2013. And nationally, there's some statistics about that as well. And this is something that you are looking into as part of this story.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to interview an expert today. Actually, his name is Seth Stoughton, and he testified in the George Floyd case last year to let us know, when is a taser used? As you mentioned, it is a step down from using a gun, but we'd love to learn more about the legalities as to when and why a taser would be used in this situation. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the things that he mentioned just in a quick phone call to me this morning is that if someone is simply resisting arrest, that they are not supposed to use the taser, but if they're a threat to harming officers or someone nearby, then we understand they would deploy the taser. But again, I don't know all the legalities around that. So we're talking to some experts this evening to learn about how frequently this happens, how frequent taser deaths happen, and just when police are able to use that as a tactic when trying to apprehend someone.
Yeah, and clearly Raleigh police are taking this very seriously. They're investigating what happened. What do we know about that investigation at this point?
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation from his mother and from people at the scene who we talked to yesterday that state that that the taser was deployed on him more than once. And so that's interesting, as police aren't saying much about that, but we do know that anytime there is an officer involved shooting or an in custody death, that first off, the SBI would take over that investigation. That's just standard protocol. But parallel to that, Raleigh police would also conduct their own investigation in what is known as a 5-day report, in which they usually spell out a very good narrative as to why these circumstances happen and what they did and why they felt that they needed to use a taser on this man. And so we'll learn more come next Tuesday from their point of view and their perspective as to why this all happened.
Real quick, what's happening with those 6 officers who were involved in this?
Yeah, we do know that there were 6 officers involved. We don't know if all of them played a hand in deploying the taser or were just part of that incident that early in those early morning hours, but they are on administrative leave, and that's pretty standard protocol when you have a situation like this.
And I do want to point out that I am talking to Chelsea midday on Wednesday. And so obviously this is a developing story, and more information about this will be available on WRAL.com in the coming hours, in the coming days. In addition to, we can add things to our notes if there are things that our listeners would like to hear. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for taking time out of your busy day. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us a part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news, events, and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.